I'm Rick Harp. This is your APTN News Brief for Monday, January 8th. We begin in Thunder Bay, where late last month, Jenna Ostberg died under tragic circumstances. Now, the Wendigo First Nations Council has issued a statement on behalf of her family. The 21-year-old Ostberg was found lifeless December 30th in a home where 3 911 calls were made before Thunder Bay police responded. And according to the council's statement, the family fears their daughter is just the latest First Nations woman to receive inadequate and unjust policing services in the city. The family has asked for privacy as they grieve their loss and await the results of a coroner's report. Meanwhile, Ontario's Special Investigations Unit has also begun to look into the incident. To Saskatchewan, where a family mourns the stabbing death of 39-year-old Dallas Paul Iron. On December 22nd, police were called to a home on the 3000 block of Regina's 6th Avenue. They administered first aid, but Iron succumbed to his injuries shortly after. He is the son of Clarence Iron, a play-by-play announcer for APTN's Hockey Night in Canada in Cree broadcasts. Arrested and charged with second-degree murder is 46-year-old Trevor Roy Sunshine. Following his first court appearance, his case has been adjourned till January 16th. Turning to Nova Scotia, where a Mi'kmaq First Nation just marked National Ribbon Skirt Day for the first time. Angel Moore was there.
So ribbon skirts to me represent coming home. It's coming home to my culture, my family, my language.
Students, teachers, and community leaders gathered at the Sipekne'katik First Nations school gym for a round dance to help celebrate the second National Ribbon Skirt Day. Guest speaker Roberta Hibbert sews ribbon skirts and shared her teachings.
This is an opportunity for many of us to learn about our culture through our identity and our expression of culture. It's reconnecting. For me, it's important because it's very emotional, where I grew up without my culture, without my language, without my family, because my father was part of the 60s scoop.
Ribbon skirt is a symbol of friendship.
Al Michael teaches the Mi'kmaq language at the Ilnu Zibuk Gina Mugogum or LSK school and explained the meaning of the ribbon skirt.
The ribbons and the fabric are not ancestral to Mi'kmaq, but we've embraced them as our own. And we wear our ribbon skirts to show that we are Indigenous, that we are part of Turtle Island, and we are proud to represent that wherever we go.
The event was to honor Isabella Kulak of the Cody First Nation in Saskatchewan, who was shamed for wearing a ribbon skirt to school. Grade 1 student Melanie Cook was proud to help celebrate the day.
Because the culture.
A traditional Mi'kmaq dance, the Gojawa, was performed by 13-year-old students, including Carice Julian, to inspire youth to dance.
Pretty good to teach younger kids about their culture and all of their traditions.
Michael has been teaching Gojawa to students for the last 2 years and says the dance has become part of the school.
Today was about ribbon skirts, but we also incorporated the Gojawa dance, which is a dance done by Mi'kmaq people since time immemorial. It's a dance that shows your strength and endurance. It's not for the weak-hearted.
Greg Marr is vice principal of the LSK school.
One of the things I think about, how easy it was to take a lot of our culture and our traditions away. And the difficult journey for our people is to kind of get all that stuff back. And that's the tough part. But, here at LSK, we instill the culture, the language, and their identity in many of their teachings. So that's off to a good start.
Hibbert says the day was emotional.
For me, being here as a guest, teaching ribbon skirts, but also teaching essential sewing, it gives honor to my grandmother who, loved sewing during residential school. So it's full circle for me. It's part of my healing to be here today, to share my teachings, share my story with my community.
Angel Moore, APTN National News, Sipekne'katik Mi'kmaq Nation, Nova Scotia.
The Yukon government has announced a $100,000 investment into its Arctic Security Advisory Council. Made up of experts in fields like Indigenous governance, Arctic sovereignty, and the military, the 5-member council will provide independent advice to the territory on security and defense. Council Chair Ken Coates says one key concern is a lack of rural infrastructure.
We're getting there. The internet is faster now than it was a little while ago. The road system's actually pretty good. Airfields, a little bit here and there. Electrical system's not as reliable. So we're not there yet on the community's ability to be part of this whole process. So I hope we get there soon.
And finally, we stick with the Yukon to share this look back on 2023 by territorial reporter Sarah Connors.
We started off the year on a political note. In January, Ranch Pillay was sworn in as the territory's 10th premier. He was the only person to put his name forward after former Premier Sandy Silver announced he was stepping down as leader of the Yukon Liberal Party in the fall of 2022.
Our team is strong. We are passionate, committed, and dedicated to serving all Yukoners as we advance the territory in the years ahead.
Sticking with politics, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau paid a visit to the territory the following month. Just days before his arrival, NORAD shot down an unidentified object which landed in north-central Yukon. That object has never been recovered.
Our focus right now is on recovering it. Obviously, there is much analysis going on at the highest levels of NORAD in both Canada and the United States to try and understand more, to facilitate in the location of the object and to understand better, and be able to answer the questions that Canadians have.
Also on the agenda was a celebration for the 50th anniversary of the document Together Today. The document is credited for leading 11 of the 14 First Nations in the territory to settle their land claims agreements.
But what this anniversary shows here for First Nations in Yukon is that we can get there, and not just here, but everywhere.
It's heartbreaking.
In April, our bureau broke a story on an Indigenous teenager who claimed RCMP members in Whitehorse used excessive force while arresting her.
As a parent, you put trust in public servant, and I feel like it's failed.
Later that month, Yukon RCMP said the Alberta Serious Incident Response Team, or ASIRT, was investigating an incident that took place that same evening. There's been no word yet on that investigation.
We understand it's frustrating for the family. Their family member is missing. They want them found.
This spring, we also brought you a story on the disappearance of Ramona Peter. The 40-year-old Casca woman was last seen in her home community of Ross River on April 21st. Now 8 months into her disappearance, her whereabouts are still unknown.
My feet are back on my soil, so.
The return of Charmin Smith, a Carcross-Tagish First Nation citizen, also made headlines this past spring. Smith was charged with trafficking the stimulant cat in 2016 on her way back to Canada. She spent the next 7 years detained in Turkey.
I need recovery is what I need. It's an emotional recovery, emotional journey that I'll be on next.
Perhaps the biggest story to come out of the Yukon this year was the evacuation of 2 First Nations communities due to wildfires. In August, Mayo and Old Crow were evacuated. The fires did not reach either community, and residents were able to return shortly after.
There are still children whose names we do not know, children whose cause of death we do not know, and we do not know where the majority of these children have been buried.
Just days before the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation, officials in Yukon announced the discovery of 15 potential graves at the former site of the Chutla Residential School. It was the first search to take place in the Northern Territories.
This is going to go for some time, help a lot of people. They now have the answers.
The effectiveness of the emergency shelter in downtown Whitehorse was a hot topic this fall. In late September, disturbances caused by shelter users forced the owners of a popular bakery to temporarily close its doors. That closure ruffled feathers in the legislature, prompting the government to promise changes, like increased safety measures for the downtown core. It's still unclear whether the bakery will reopen its doors.
In 3, 2, 1, go! Have fun!
Ending on a high note, in November, we spoke to an incredible elder out of Lower Post, British Columbia, near the Yukon border. Jerry Porter fulfilled a lifelong wish to go skydiving while visiting Auckland, New Zealand. 3 years into what he calls a sobriety journey, the elder is happy to be living life to the fullest.
Doing what I want to do is to be sober and be the best grandpa around.
That's your 2023 Yukon Year in Review. Sarah Connors, APTN National News.
And that's your APTN News Brief for Monday, January 8th. I'm Rick Harp.